My name is Aisha, and for 10 long years I lived in a house that didn't feel like home, my mother-in-law's house. Her walls smelled of wealth and pride, but to me they smelled of judgment. I learned early that she didn't want a daughter. In law she wanted a servant with a smile. I gave her everything. My respect, my silence, my obedience. Still, it was never enough. At every family dinner, she found new ways to remind me I was an outsider. A shadow, a mistake. But one morning, during what was supposed to be an ordinary family brunch, my world collapsed. The lawyer stood, his voice steady as he read the will. The mansion, the land, the jewels, everything went to my sister-in-law. And me, nothing, not even acknowledgement. I sat frozen, trying to swallow the humiliation, and then my phone buzzed. A strange email, no subject, no name, just 6 words. She is not who you think. That was the moment my silence ended. That was the day I decided to destroy her. From the day I entered her mansion, I felt it, the silence that wasn't really silence. The walls carried whispers, sharp and cutting. My mother-in-law never yelled, she didn't need to. Her looks, her pauses at the dinner table, her slow, deliberate sighs, they were daggers. I remember serving tea one evening. My hands shook as I placed the tray. She leaned closer, smiling at the guests, and whispered in my ear, "A true daughter would know how to pour without spilling." The guests laughed at her little joke, but I felt my face burn. Her favoritism was never hidden. My sister-in-law, Amina, was the golden child. Every new sari, every gold bangle, every word of praise belonged to her, and me, I was the invisible shadow cleaning behind them. I told myself it was fine, that I married for love, not for property, that one day she would see my worth. But deep down I knew the truth. She would never let me rise. Still I endured, for my husband, for peace. Until the day of the brunch, until the will was read, until the email arrived. And that's when the whispers turned into screams. The brunch table was heavy with food, fruits, parathas, kebabs, but my stomach was in knots. My mother-in-law sat at the head, her sari glistening like armor. The lawyer entered, his leather briefcase snapping open like a gunshot. He read the will slowly, his voice echoing in the chandelier-lit dining room. The mansion, the estate, and all properties are to be transferred to my beloved daughter, Amina. I froze. Amina smiled politely, lowering her eyes as if she were embarrassed, but I saw the sparkle she tried to hide. My hands turned cold. No mention of me, not even a word of recognition for the years I had spent breaking myself in this house. My husband looked away. My chest tightened as if invisible hands were strangling me, and then my mother-in-law spoke, her voice sugar-coated venom. "Don't worry, Aisha. Some women are meant for comfort, not for legacy." Laughter rippled through the table. My ears rang. That's when my phone buzzed, an email, no subject, just 6 words, "She is not who you think." My eyes darted to my mother-in-law. She was sipping tea, calm, victorious, but I knew something was cracking. I pressed open the email and gasped. The email contained no greeting, no explanation, just a single photo, a younger version of my mother-in-law standing with a man I had never seen. Her arm linked in his, behind them, a hospital. The timestamp was decades old. Below it, one sentence, "Ask her about Rashid." My hands trembled. Rashid, who was he? My mother-in-law's past was always locked away, spoken of only in polished lies. She had built her identity on being the loyal widow, the strong matriarch, but this photo, this name, it told another story. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying her face at brunch, the pride, the cruelty, and then I looked again at the photo. She wasn't cruel in it. She looked young, vulnerable, almost happy. I needed answers, but how? If I confronted her, she'd bury me. If I asked Amina, she'd run straight to her mother. The email buzzed again the next morning. Another line appeared. She betrayed her own blood. My stomach dropped. Betrayed who? And just then the door creaked open. My mother-in-law stood in the hallway watching me, her eyes sharp like knives. Did she know? I started searching in silence. Old trunks, locked drawers, forgotten cupboards. Every corner of that mansion became my battlefield. One night in the storage room, hidden beneath yellowed bed sheets, I found a metal box. Inside letters, photographs, bank slips. And there it was, Rashid's name over and over again. Money transfers, land deeds, property stolen. The truth sliced me open. Rashid wasn't a stranger. He was my father-in-law's brother, the rightful heir. And she, my mother-in-law, had erased him, forged signatures, bribed lawyers, stolen property that was never hers. I held the papers in my hands, my heart pounding like a drum. All these years she had played the victim. The poor widow, the loyal matriarch, but in reality she was a thief, a liar, maybe even a murderer. I heard footsteps. The box nearly slipped from my hands. I shoved it back and turned. My mother-in-law stood in the doorway, her eyes gleaming. Curiosity, she whispered, is dangerous, Aisha. Her smile, it was the smile of someone who knew I had seen too much. And in that moment I realized, if I didn't destroy her, she would destroy me. I needed an ally, so I replied to the email. Who are you? I typed. Why are you helping me? The reply came within minutes. I am Rashid's son. Blood rushed to my head. He was alive. Her lies stretched further than I imagined. He sent me documents, proof of forged wills, secret accounts. Together, we began weaving a net around her. I pretended to obey her as always, serving tea, smiling at guests. But every word, every glance I was recording, every slip of her tongue, every arrogant admission, I collected like a weapon. Finally, I set the stage, another brunch, just like before, except this time I wasn't alone. Rashid's son sat quietly among the guests, disguised as a friend. The lawyer was there too, this time with the real papers. My mother-in-law didn't notice the storm gathering around her. She sat, radiant in her silk sari, thinking she had already won, but she hadn't, not yet. The moment came like thunder. I stood, my voice steady for the first time in years. I have something to share, gasps, all eyes on me. My heart pounded, but I didn't tremble. One by one, I laid the papers on the table, the forged signatures, the stolen deeds, the transfers. My mother-in-law's face drained of color. She tried to laugh. These are lies. And then Rashid's son stood. His voice shook the room. Lies, or the truth you buried with my father. The table erupted. Amina burst into tears. My husband sat frozen. The lawyer confirmed everything. My mother-in-law's hands shook, her teacup rattling against the saucer. For once she had no words, and in that silence I finally breathed. They say revenge tastes sweet, but to me it tasted like silence. Sweet, calm silence, after years of whispers and humiliation. The mansion no longer felt like a prison. The walls, once heavy with secrets, now stood hollow and bare. My mother-in-law avoided my eyes. Her empire was gone. Her lies stripped away, and I wasn't invisible anymore. I had survived her cruelty. I had shattered her mask. And as I stood at the window that evening, the sun setting across the estate that was no longer hers, I realized something. Justice doesn't always come from courts or lawyers. Sometimes it comes from the quiet strength of a woman who refuses to stay silent.